Can we talk about ADHD and noise sensitivity, please? Now, I've seen lots of ADHD content creators mentioning sound sensitivity, and that's something I've suffered with my whole life. I'm actually a bit of a sound sensitive nightmare, if I'm honest. So when I was little, it was just me and my mum, and when I went to bed, if the television was too loud, I couldn't go back to go and ask her to turn it down, because in my bedroom I could hear the bass of the television beneath me, and it would make me feel really, really unsettled and anxious, and I had to ask her to turn it down. I think generally as a theme, if there's a constant bass or a high-pitched sound, then I find that very difficult to live with, and it makes me feel incredibly stressed out. So, for example, when we lived in our old house, a couple of different things, but opposite us there was a church hall, and at one point they had a local flamenco group coming to do their dancing every Thursday night, and it was so loud. In my brain, it sounded like there was full construction going on where they were throwing bricks into a tip. That's what it felt like to me. And after a few weeks of just sort of sitting there with headphones on watching the telly, for some reason my husband was always out on a Thursday night. I can't remember why. I think he had tennis or something. But I was there on my own and I couldn't stand it. So I called the church up and I said, I'm really sorry. I know I'm a nightmare and this is a bit weird, but I can't cope with the flamenco dancing. It's driving me insane. So they moved to another church hall that wasn't in a residential area. Also at this house, we had a neighbour that we didn't get on with very well. And when we wanted to do some construction work that she didn't want us to do, I think it was a loft conversion, we put a party wall letter through her door and she got very cross. And so she started banging pans and playing her music really, really loudly. And I'm not a confrontational person. For me, this was just like a horror show. What that sort of triggered was me being hypersensitive to any noise that came from her house whatsoever. So even if her music wasn't very loud, I could hear it and it would make me feel really upset. And even now in my bedroom, I can hear a high-pitched squealing. I could hear it in the other house as well. And I don't know if it's electricity or what it is. Nobody else can hear this. I've got the hearing of a bloody bat, but I can hear it. And I have to deliberately switch my brain off to ignore it, because otherwise it would drive me mad. So a few years ago, I went for a hearing test because people were saying, are you going deaf? Did you not hear what I just said to you? And I couldn't. So I went for a hearing test. Turns out I've got amazing bat-like hearing. I'm incredibly sensitive to sounds that other people can't even hear at all. So it turns out I just stop listening if I'm not interested in what someone's saying. Weirdly, I can cope with the sound if I think it's fair or justified. Anyone else?